Oh my, guess what's back? Maxx Crosby trade rumors. Drama potentially brewing in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about it here on Chicago Bears Now. Could Ryan Poles make a big trade this offseason? And I want to hear from the people. If you want Maxx Crosby in Chicago, let me know. Type me down in the comments below. If you want Mad Max in the Windy City, I want to hear it from all Bears fans in the comments section. I'm Harrison Graham. What is going on with Maxx Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders? We're going to dive into that, plus explore the possibility of the Bears trading for him this offseason. And friction seemingly reappeared between Crosby and the Raiders over the past week and into the weekend. Now, he was back in the facility today. I do want to make that clear, so maybe they've patched it up a little bit, and it's no harm, no foul, but I still think this is worth talking about. This started on December 23rd when a reporter asked Crosby, hey, fans talking about tanking for the number one pick. What's your thought on that? And he said, yeah, I don't give a shit about the pick. I don't play for that. That's not my job. My job is to be the best defensive end in the world, and that's what I'm focused on every day. And being a great leader and influence. Being that guy on a consistent basis for my team. That's their job, talking about the front office. That's the front office, the coaches, they do that. But that's got nothing to do with me. My job is to be the best in the world at what I do, and that's wrecking the game. So then, the day after Christmas, because remember, this was leading up to Raiders, Giants, our team's going to strategically sit guys and try to get the number one pick as the loser of that game would enter the driver's seat. Jay Glazer, who, when he gets scoops, they're usually pretty good, reported this. Scoopage. Raiders told Maxx Crosby they want to shut him down the last two games. Crosby, who has played with injuries much of the year, vehemently disagreed and has left the building, NFL on Fox has learned. This could lead to questions on his future in Las Vegas. Then the Raiders, the next day, dropped this statement. Quote, we have made the decision to place Maxx Crosby on injured reserve for the remainder of the season. After deliberate and thorough consultation with multiple top medical professionals, it became clear that the decision is in the best interest of both the franchise and the player. Maxx is the ultimate warrior and has fought extremely hard to compete each week with his teammates since injuring his knee mid-season. We are grateful for his extraordinary contributions. He is a true Raider on and off the field. We look forward to his leadership and toughness into 2026 and beyond. So how did Maxx Crosby respond? He goes on Instagram in his at-home basketball gym and is doing like fadeaway three-pointers. He's jumping on a trampoline at home. He looks fine. Now, it sounds like they do have medical, like he does have an injury that he's played through. But let's be clear. If anything was at stake for the Raiders, he would have been playing. A, because he's tough as hell and he plays through injuries all the time. And B, that's just what NFL players do. Like, they want to play. If they can be out there, they want to be out there. And Maxx Crosby embodies that more than anybody, which is why I've always been a fan and would love him in Chicago. And I just think, regardless of all this, it is time for a trade for Maxx Crosby. And look, if he doesn't request one, they probably won't trade him because the Raiders value him and, he's by far their best player and all that stuff. But you know what? At some point, if you're Maxx Crosby, something's got to give. I would be asking for a trade out of Las Vegas. He's going to be 29 next year. He's got a decent amount of wear and tear. Like, you're going to waste the remaining prime years of your career in Las Vegas because this guy's been fantastic as a fourth-round pick out of Eastern Michigan. He plays the run extremely well. He's an excellent pass rusher. And unlike most defensive linemen, he rarely comes off the field. He plays 90+% of the snaps on a week-to-week basis. Most defensive linemen, even premier ones, are in like the 70s and 80%. Like, he is a unique player with a unique motor and a unique just will to compete for a team that has not matched that will to compete. The first few years, the Raiders were actually okay. The end of the Gruden, Bisaccia as the interim led them to the playoffs. But since then, it's just been brutal, man. 6-11. I don't even remember them going 8-9 a couple of years ago. That seems like a shock. But the last 2 years in particular has just been really, really bad. And I'm sorry, Maxx Crosby's career is being wasted in Las Vegas. It just is. I respect that he wants to win there. The Raiders are so far away. and I know they have cap space, and I know they have the number 1 pick, like, you're not becoming competitive in that division in one offseason. It's not going to happen. Who's going to be the coach? 74-year-old Pete Carroll or Clint Kubiak, Jesse Minter? That's going to be a big task for a first-year head coach. Like, why? Honestly, it makes sense for both parties, for Max to go to a contender and for the Raiders to commit to a rebuild. You already have a lot of capital and money this offseason. Add more. Go trade Maxx Crosby and hopefully trade him to the Bears. That's what I would like to see, and that's what we're going to talk about as we progress here on today's videos. But speaking of videos, if you want them for free, daily, 100% free, no charge, hit the subscribe button. We are closing in on 148,000 subscribers. We're just over 200 away. You could be number 148,000. Support the show. We would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so that's what's going on in Vegas. Again, he's back in the building on Monday as we're filming this. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if he requests a trade this offseason. That's to be determined. He'll probably wait and see the coaching situation, all that play out, and go from there. But could the Bears get involved if he became available in a trade? Because let's be honest, and I want to see the playoffs play out. We all do. But we know what the weakness on this team is. It's the inability to rush the quarterback. And that starts up front, and typically that starts on the edge. And Maxx Crosby is one of the best in the game at doing it, and he's an excellent run defender as well. He's not a one-trick pony. He would help this defensive line tremendously, and this defense tremendously. This group just isn't good enough, man. And you've spent a lot of money on it. Montez Sweat's making $24, $25 million per year. Dio Adengbo is making $16 million per year, and now he's coming off a torn Achilles. You know, Grady Jarrett's making $14, $15 million bucks. You spent a second-round pick on Javon Dexter, Shamar Turner, who tore his ACL. Austin Booker's coming along, but, that's asking a lot. This Bears defensive line is a weakness. It's not a very good group. They have intriguing, rotation depth type of pieces, but they don't have those top-caliber guys. Montez Sweat's a 2. I've always said it. He's like a number 2 starter in a pitching rotation. You ask him to be your ace, it's going to be a long series. But if he's your number 2, you feel pretty good about that. He's your number 1. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem because he kind of comes and goes in terms of his production and impacting the game. 49ers game, total no-show. One of the worst players on the field defensively. Can't happen. That's not going to happen with Maxx Crosby. He'll have better games than others, but he's one of the best in the world, per his words. He backs that up every single week. He's tough. He plays through stuff, and he's a big-time player. Don't you think he would salivate at the chance to play for a contender? And the Bears have a chance to be a contender for years to come. I just think it could be a really, really good fit between both parties. We'll dive more into the possibility of it coming up here in just a moment. But I do got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor. That is PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressured playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and PrizePicks lets you take control. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Caleb Williams' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can, all in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. How you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play option where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Speaking of a power play, 3 power play lineup here. More on Caleb Williams' passing yards. Sounds like he's playing. He wants that 4,000, so I'll take more than 237.5. Jared Goff, Bears defense, until they prove more, I'm going to take the more on his passing yards as well. And then Kyle Monangai, it was a Swift game last week. I think we get more of a Monangai game this week. I think he finds the end zone demon play right there. $20 to win 80 on that lineup. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the app. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Okay, let's talk about the money aspect of this when you get into Maxx Crosby. Because right now, the Bears are projected to be barely in the green, have like $1.5 million bucks in cap space. So there's some things they have to work through to clear up money to just absorb Maxx Crosby. Right now, they can do that. They can cut guys. They can trade guys. They can restructure guys. They have a lot of flexibility with a lot of their higher-priced players So they could certainly make this work. Max Crosby's cap hit this year is $30.8 million. And if you look over the next few years on his new extension, this is pretty reasonable. 30.8, and this is if he's traded 29.8, 27.3, 28.1. Like, that's not that bad for what he brings to the table. I mean, Montez Sweat's like 25. Like, Max Crosby is a notable better player than Montez Sweat. I'm not making this the anti-Montez Sweat show, but like $4 or $5 million more per year against the cap for Max Crosby compared to Montez Sweat, that's a pretty reasonable contract for a player of his caliber. Still just 29 next year. You know, you would look at that 4 years. If you can get 2 elite years and 2 good years, that's probably worth it if you were to make a trade. And by the way, it's one of those contracts after 2027, you can kind of get out of it if you chose to do so. So I think that's another reason why you would consider this, because it's not that daunting of a contract for a player of Max Crosby's calibers. Now, I think 3 players we got to keep an eye on in particular this offseason when it comes to potentially cutting or trading. Now, I don't think you would cut Montez Sweat or DJ Moore. Tremaine Edmonds is possible. I think Sweat and DJ would fall more into the trade candidate. Potentially restructure in a guy like DJ's case. I don't think you would restructure Montez and kick money down the road there. Tremaine entering the final year of his deal, you either keep him, extend him, or cut him, or trade him. I'm not sure what happens there. Probably depends how he finishes. But these are 3 high-priced players that you could create a lot of cap space depending on the decisions you make with their status on this roster. So I think those are 3 players to really keep an eye on. Now, there's guys like Cole Kmet. You could extend him to lower his cap hit. You could cut him, but I think it's pretty clear. He's a bear. Like, he's going to be here. Ben Johnson's going to want him here, I think, especially with the multi-tight end sets. He's been great with Colston Loveland. So I don't think he's going anywhere. You could restructure guys like Jalen Johnson. You could restructure, a guy like Drew Dahlman or Joe Tooney, kick money down the road because they have 2 years left. And I think we all think they're going to play out those 2 years with how those guys are playing. So you've got options to make the money work. So for people saying they can't make it work, they can make it work. Not, you don't snap your finger and it works, but you make 2-3 moves, you have $30+ million pretty easily. Now, then you get to the trade aspect of this. Number one, you would have to assume the Raiders would even do it, which I don't know the answer to that. I think it would be kind of smart if they did, but whether or not that's the case remains to be seen. And number two, if they are, what's going to get a deal done? Well, let's just revisit the Micah Parsons trade. We were live here on the channel when this went down, and I was in shambles. And before Micah went down for the year with the injury, the Packers looked like a force to be reckoned with. And they're still good, obviously. 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark for Micah Parsons. Okay, 2 ones and a good player. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Parsons is 2 years younger than Crosby, has less wear and tear than Crosby too. So is it going to cost 2 ones and a player? Could you get Crosby without giving up 2 ones? I think if you can, you do it. If you can get Max Crosby without giving up 2 first-round picks, I think I'd pull the trigger. Is it a first and a third and a decent player? Is it a first and a second and a player? Is it 2 ones, but you get a pick back, right? You get like a second or third back. But if you can get him without giving up 2 first-round picks, I think it's close to a no-brainer. Now, I'm open to seeing how the playoffs play out. Maybe things change, but if you could acquire Max Crosby without giving up that second first-round pick, which is what the Raiders would want, if you could pull it off without having to do that, I think I'd be really, really tempted if I was Ryan Poles to go get Max Crosby. But I'll ask you, would you trade 2 ones for Max Crosby? I'm not even saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying if you don't have to, it's a no-brainer. Type Y for yes, you would give up 2 firsts. Type N for no, you would not. Would I do 2 ones and a good player? That'd be a tougher pill to swallow, but see how the playoffs go. If you're pretty brutal on your pass rush, might have to consider it because a guy like Max Crosby can change a lot for your defense and for your football team. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. I'm guessing this will not be the last time we talk about Max Crosby, especially once the offseason gets here. Probably will be the last time. I spend a lot of time on it before the offseason, but with him in the news cycle, I thought it was worth mentioning. So you guys sound off in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and as always, bear down.